Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and help me get to that 10,000 subscriber mark. In our first story, an entitled mother who calls the cops on our OP for trespassing on his own land. Let's jump right in. Here's some backstory. For most of my life, I was raised by my grandfather. Nothing was wrong with my family life or anything, just a few sets of circumstances that's a whole other story in itself. We live in a suburban area surrounded by woods, and he owns about 10 acres into the woods with the boundaries clearly marked by stone walls. One of these stone walls separated my grandfather's land from a cul-de-sac, and up until now we have had zero problems with any of them. In fact, my grandfather was usually more than happy to give permission to neighbors who politely asked him to use his land, given they had a good reason. For example, one of these neighbors had asked my grandfather if he could dump some sticks and leaves from his yard over the stone wall. My grandfather agreed, as he rarely uses that part of the property anyway. This will be important later. My grandfather is very healthy for his age and still strong as an ox. That being said, he has a few minor health issues, including vertigo spells, so I've been trying to help him around the yard more and more, as well as just to stay active outside, away from crowds with this virus going around. Recently, I've started the project of cleaning up the underbrush around the wooded area. A large pine had fallen a few months before and almost hit one of the porches in the cul-de-sac. My grandfather cut up the tree and removed the pieces in the neighbor's yard, but it was too deep in the woods to pull them out with the tractor. This led to me going back to that pine tree and trying to clear a path back to the house from there. I was behind the stone wall, cutting and pulling up saplings, when I hear the glass door of the cul-de-sac house open and an angry lady storming out onto the porch in a bathrobe. She was much younger than a typical Karen, I would say mid-20s. "What are you doing here? You can't be here." Why not?" "Because you're trespassing, dumbass. You think you can just hang out in the woods behind my house with my kids inside? Get the flip out of here before I call the cops." At this point, I'm just looking at her trying to figure out what to say. I mean, I get it. It can be a little weird seeing someone in the woods behind your house if you haven't seen them before. "Ma'am, I'm sorry if I scared you, but my family owns this part of the woods. I'm just cleaning up back here. Remember me and my grandfather were back here a few months back to take care of that tree that fell down? I just need to clear a path so we can get it out of here." At this point, I thought it was purely a misunderstanding. "Don't be ridiculous. Those were laborers my boyfriend's dad hired. You don't own the land." She gestures with her hand. "My boyfriend's dad owns all this. Now, I'll tell you one more time to get out before I call the cops." Now I'm thinking I might be dealing with a genuine idiot, as outside our property boundaries, the woods are owned by the town water plant and don't have public access. But I'm also taken aback that she referred to us as laborers. "I guess you're gonna have to call the cops then, because I ain't moving. I don't care what you, your boyfriend, or your boyfriend's dad says." I shrug as I lean back against the wall and pull out my phone to call my grandfather to tell him where I was. He tells me he'll be there in a few minutes and to hang tight. She then dramatically proceeds to call 911 and tells them there's a shady individual on her property refusing to leave and she's afraid for her life. I start getting nervous at this point, even though all I have on me is a hooked branch cutter. So I call up the police non-emergency number, briefly explain the situation as just a land dispute that got out of hand, and that I am unarmed and waiting on my own property, and that I have never left my own property. He assured me that it would be settled when the officers arrive, which didn't help my nerves. Just then, I hear my grandfather pull up and see him walking through the yard towards us. "What? Stay back! You can't come in my yard!" "Keep your mouth shut, you dumb broad." My grandfather growled as he walked over to me and climbed over the wall so he was on my side. "Now, who the hell do you think you are, and why are you yelling at my granddaughter?" "My boyfriend's dad owns all this, and both of you are going to get arrested for trespassing." My grandfather let out a dramatic, indignant laugh. "Oh, did he tell you that? Well, you're in for quite the shock, and your boyfriend's dad is in for quite the talk." After them yelling back and forth for a few minutes, 2 cop cars pull up and 3 officers come walking into the yard. As soon as they do, she starts screaming again about how we have no right to be in the woods behind her house where we can see her kids inside. The first cop looks towards my grandfather. "Sir, do you own all the property behind this wall?" "Yes, sir, I do." Pulls out his wallet to show his address. Cop number 1 eyes his license. "Sir, this address is for down the street." "Correct, but if you look on Google Maps, it shows the property boundaries of that address reach out through the woods and end at this wall." I hand him my phone, which already has Google Maps open, showing our exact location within the boundary of the property. Cop number 2 says, "Yep, she's right. So, what were y'all doing back here, if you don't mind me asking?" We explained the situation of the tree and how we were working to remove the remnants. Meanwhile, the other officer is taking a statement from the entitled mother. My grandfather says, "I know the owner of this house. He's a good guy. I give him permission to dump his leaves and stuff behind the wall, but I've never seen her before, so I don't know where she got those crazy ideas. But I'm definitely going to have a talk with Frank when he gets home." Cop number 1 says, "She already called him up and he's on his way now. Do you mind sticking around for a little bit until he gets here?" "Sure, we got nothing to do." The cops walked us to my grandfather's truck where we waited for about 10 minutes for Frank to pull in. When he did, he immediately walked over to the truck. "Grandfather, OP, what's going on? Someone was hiding out in the woods? Are you okay? Did you see him?" To clarify, we have had an issue in the past with people running from cops and hiding in our woods. It took a second for us to realize he thought that maybe the entitled mother saw one and we came to chase him out. Not exactly. At this point, 2 cops are around us again, but being 2 old guys who obviously pose zero threat, they're noticeably relaxed and kind of let them talk it out. Frank explains that the entitled mother is his granddaughter's mother and his son had made some mistakes and currently both were staying with him while they tried to find a place of their own. He thinks maybe his son had told some lies to make him look better. "Well, I hate to say it, but your son made some big mistakes. She's crazy." "Oh, you have no idea." The other cop is still talking to the entitled mother, who won't stop screaming about not wanting us to be able to see into the living room, especially my grandfather, a creepy old man. My blood is boiling at this point. My grandpa is the type of person who would gladly throw his life away to save a child, any child, even a stranger's. Frank heard this too and ordered the entitled mother inside at once. He told the cops he needed to have a talk with both her and his son about their living situation, but they might want to remain nearby in case she tries to call again for whatever reason. Me and my grandfather are given the clear to go, but leave our contact information. We found out later that week that the entitled mother was getting evicted for a number of reasons, with this little incident being the last straw. Frank is also filing for custody of his granddaughter because the entitled mother refuses to get a job yet still has money for weed, yet keeps asking Frank for money to take care of his granddaughter. I feel really bad for the granddaughter in this situation, but I have no sympathy for the entitled mother whatsoever. Entitlement at its best. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.